The following interviews comprise the practical exam given to Multimedia Communications 2 students at the J. Oliva Huot Technical Center in Laconia, New Hampshire. During these live-on-tape interviews, each student demonstrated proficiency in producing, directing, floor managing, lighting, sound, and technical directing. Students also served as on-camera talent, answering questions related to the curriculum posed by the instructor-interviewer. This video reflects the competency and confidence gained by students over the course of this 2-year hands-on program.
Welcome to our show. This is the second of a series of interviews that I'll be doing with Multimedia 2 soon-to-be grads, and my guest today is Andy Little. Andy, so happy that you're here.
Me too, I'm happy to be here.
I'd like to start out because you're wearing sunglasses, and I have said over and over again how important light is to the film and video process.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
All right, well, the reason I'm wearing sunglasses is because we had to set up lights to light their talent properly, and I requested sunglasses because the lights were blinding me. But that's okay, because they were doing their job.
Could you elaborate a little bit, because I say over and over, you can never have enough light.
Well, lighting is important because you have to light your talent evenly, and you can't, like, cast shadows, or at least try to eliminate them as much as possible. And so you try to spend a lot of time on your lighting just to make it look good and light your talents properly. I think lighting is very important.
Would you say that your average person, whether they're a movie fan or not, wouldn't have a clue about what goes on lighting-wise?
If you're involved with movies and stuff, you might understand, but other than that, like, an average person would never know. Like,
an average person would never know.
The time and effort
but
that's
you
put
know,
into it.
because you've watched the Multimedia 2 show starring Andy Little. Thanks.
Thank you.
Quiet on the set list. Alright.
I'm
Ready?
scared.
Alright. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Hey, welcome to part 3 of the Multimedia 2 practical exam right here in the studio. This is a twofold process. So you'll be producing a segment, and you'll also be the interviewee of a segment. And you know what? I'm wearing Ray-Ban sunglasses, and I'm holding up a Moxie. What am I doing?
Product placement. You're giving advertisement to the companies by showing their products on TV.
Would you explain the difference between product placement and an ad or a commercial?
Well, in product placement, a product is placed in like a movie or a TV show, and it's not directly advertised. It's just people see it, and it makes them want to buy it. And with an ad, they're actually directly saying, you should buy this product, and they're advertising it so that you will buy it directly.
All right, let's go a little bit deeper into this, because if you're like me, you hate commercials.
Yeah.
But we need commercials, right?
Exactly.
Why?
Because that is what funds the TV shows and the movies, well, most of the TV shows.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, even if we're talking print magazines, they've got ads in them.
Exactly.
Radio, you listen to the radio, they've got ads. Do you think that advertising is always going to be with us, or do you think somehow maybe it's going to morph into just this whole sort of product placement thing?
I think it's always going to have advertising, because that is directly what pays for the magazines and the TV shows and the radios. That's where they get all their funding to do their shows. So.
I was thinking it might be, you know, somewhat practical for a television show to replace, you know, blatant commercials with product placement.
Yeah.
But I don't really know how that would work in a magazine or on radio.
Exactly. I think people are more likely to buy things if there's ads on, because sometimes you won't always notice that, oh, this person's holding a Moxie. So I think advertisement is a stronger way.
Well, dovetailing on what you just said, what about subliminal advertising? I mean, you know, we're supposed to not be aware that we're being influenced, but what's your feeling about that?
I honestly don't think subliminal advertising works. I've never noticed it in anything, and I've never heard about anybody else noticing it. So.
Well, we'll have to canvass some of our viewers, but for now, we have to sign off from the MMC2 show. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to part 4 of the MMC2 Practical Exam program with my guest, Eddie Flanagan. Eddie, you probably know more about the entertainment business than anybody I know. If you just had to pick one job that you would have to do for the rest of your life in the industry, what would it be and why?
That is a tough question to answer. I would have to say that if it were just one thing out of all other things, I would have to pick editing. I get a lot of satisfaction out of taking random jumbled clips of just scenes and just forging them together into a single product, and then having that product out there recognized and having it.
Well, let me interrupt you for 1 second, because I know that you are a skilled director, producer, etc. So wouldn't you think a director would take offense if the editor was calling their product random and jumbled clips?
Well, I don't think that a director would take offense. Certainly they wouldn't, think it was a compliment, but it really takes a two-person team of a director and an editor to really bring something into a comprehensive project. You can't just have the director say, I want all these shots. Some of them might be filmed out of order, some of them aren't good. Somebody has to go through them, sort them out, figure out which ones are the best clips, and just bring them together.
Okay, now we all know in the business that the editor can really make or break, but there's the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. So elaborate on that. What does that mean?
Well, if you put in not very high quality clips to an editor, he's not a miracle worker. He can't make a shot non-shaky or put it in focus again. What you give is what you get, really, is how that works.
I don't think most people really understand what an editor does and how much power an editor really can have in a project. What would happen without editing in movies?
Well, that is a big subject to cover. I mean...
Well, you know what? Maybe we should wait until part 2. So, that's what we'll do, because we've run out of time. But thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for episode 5 in our ongoing series. Welcome to Multimedia 2, the Practical Exam. My guest today is Brandon Hamill. And Brandon, I don't think I ever took anybody on a field trip to a movie until last year, when I took anybody that wanted to go to see Avatar.
Yeah.
Why do you think I chose Avatar?
First of all, it was related to our class, what we were studying, but like we were talking about earlier, just before we started rolling the tape, I think it was like something that we'd never seen before, new effects, like new story. So I think that would have been really cool for us to see.
Avatar has grossed how much money worldwide so far?
I think around over $2 billion.
Yeah, more than $2 billion with a B dollars. Why? Why do you think this movie, of all the movies that have ever been made, has been so immensely successful?
I think because when you go to the movie theater to watch it, it attracts such a large crowd. Its visual effects are nothing that anybody's ever seen before. Just kind of creates a different world where you can just throw yourself in.
What's your feeling about making a movie like this that has broken all records, and did you feel that it was artistic as well as commercially successful?
Yeah, I think it was both, but Not really. I mean, commercially successful because it was like such a big like marketing campaign. But I think it was definitely artistic. Like I said, like he broke tons of boundaries with like CGI effects and a bunch of new things. So, I mean, obviously it's commercialized because it's such a big success.
Why do you think actors are a little nervous about this whole CGI, like replacing
Yeah.
a flesh and blood actor? You're an actor. Does this make you nervous that it can be computer generated and they may not even need you at some point?
No, not really. I mean, obviously, like actors are, like they want to just, their face they think needs to be on the screen. But I mean, I'm totally fine with it. Like my voice will tell the story. I don't necessarily need my body in the scene. So.
My personal feeling was Zoe Saldana, who played the
woman
leading lady. I mean, she was the heart and soul of that movie.
Yeah.
She gave it emotional content.
Yeah.
What do you think about franchises?
I think they're good if like you can actually tell a different story, have it relate to like the previous installment. I know there's going to be an Avatar 2 and 3.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see if that happens. Until then, this is Multimedia 2 signing out. Hi, and welcome to another amazing episode of MMC2, the Practical Exam. My guest today is Zach Dearborn, and I'm wondering if perhaps in the next minute, our production team can get it together to plug in the amazing sign that you created and built that we used for the Huot Tech promo video. Because I get that your interest is pursuing set design.
Yes, it is.
Now, where did you get this interest in set design, and did you even know, a job like this existed in the entertainment industry?
I knew it did, and probably at like a young age, I just like setting up like me and my friends, we used to set up like these play type things, and I always liked taking just junk you'd find around your house or in a prop closet or something like that, and making something that looks real, but it's just in a small room or a back lot.
Well, I don't know how many people at home would really appreciate the time, effort, energy that went into, and I'm not sure if we can get a shot of this, but can you just sort of walk us through the process of what it took and how much time it took to make that beautiful sign?
Well, it took about 8 to 10 hours to make it, and we had to get a large piece of plywood, an 8x4, and use multiple drill bits over, I think it was 120 feet of rope light and 300 zip ties to put that sign together.
And it was used for how many seconds, would you say, in the final product?
No more than 2.
Would something like that, would that have occurred to you before you took multimedia? Were you aware of how much work and energy went into stuff?
Not at all. I couldn't imagine it would take that long just to put together a simple set for a TV show or something like that, but it really does.
How do you watch things differently now, knowing what goes on behind the scenes?
I see a lot more product placement, and like you look at like in a sitcom, someone's living room, you'll see how things match up better, and how probably took them 10 minutes to figure out where to put that one cup that's sitting on the table, or that picture hanging on the wall. Who's in it? What's the purpose of it being there?
I mean, I hear the word random bandied about a lot, just in general. But when I hear things like, oh, I'll just put some random music, or we'll just use some random there's nothing random in the world of. It is. Everything is thought of, and there are jobs that you'd probably never in your wildest dreams imagine, that you could make a living shopping for props or stuff like that. Well, you know where you're going in your life. Let's find out from some of our other Multimedia 2 talent as this series continues to unfold. Yeah. Hello, and welcome to Multimedia 2, Part 3. Nate, this has been going on for weeks. What have you observed, and what feedback would you give about this whole process?
I would say it's been pretty hard, very complicated, but as long as you get it done, then you're on your way.
Well, let's talk about the complications. What are your observations? What do you think makes this whole process so complicated?
People slack off and they don't really do what they're supposed to be doing, and they go off and do something else. And that's pretty much what I think.
And then what would you say are the hard parts?
Probably setting up the studio and getting everything right, in the right position where it's supposed to be, and everything like that.
Now, when you're talking about the right positions, if you look around here, what would somebody at home watching this be totally unaware of? What are the things that you're like talking about when you say setting up things?
That the cameras have to be like a little ways away from the host and the talent, and there has to be like exact right lighting so where you don't look too hot and your face isn't like blown up, and pretty much it, and have wires out of the way so nobody's tripping over them if they have to go to another camera or anything.
And what you were saying earlier kind of touches upon, it's about teamwork, it's about everybody working together. Do you think that the slacking off and stuff would happen in any industry, or do you think it's just part of the entertainment industry?
It could happen in any industry, because there's some people that don't really like want to just do it, but they end up doing it anyways. So there'd be some slacking off in the industry, but then they pick it up after and they get the stuff done.
Why do you think it's like that? Do you think that if you were a boss, would you prefer to have somebody that's like a brainiac, but maybe they are a bit of a slacker? Or would you rather have somebody that might not be so smart, but they're a really hard worker?
I would probably go with the person that's smart and is a hard worker. Well, not really that smart, but is a hard worker and everything, so.
Well, I would agree with you. And on that note, I guess, Nate, we'll have to say goodbye for now and hopefully continue with part 3 of Multimedia 2.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. Hello and welcome to part 4 of Multimedia 2. Our first guest today is Heather Andrews from Interlakes. Heather, if you could have your dream job, what would it be?
I would say directing maybe like music videos. I've liked music for a long time, obviously. It's everywhere, and I like to direct, and I think that combining the two would be a great achievement.
Let's talk a little bit about music. What genre of music are you most into?
I usually go for pretty much whatever. I'm into all kinds. I'm open to anything. I can't really pick a favorite because it's pretty much whatever's on the radio is my...
So you are one of those rare young people that listens to the radio?
Yep.
And what station would you listen to, and what kind of music do they play? What's the format?
Well, the station would probably be most likely 94.1. I'm always on that one. And for format, I guess they play a range of things from country to the latest and greatest, the older music as well. Yeah.
So what would you say the demographic of that radio station is?
Teenagers for sure, probably like 14 to 18. My mom listens to it, so she's a little up there, but all kinds, I guess.
How important do you think music is to, say, a movie?
I'd say music is pretty important to a movie. It adds the emotion, not necessarily, well, yes and no, the feel to the movie. It sets the mood for a scene. Like if it's a scary scene and you've got dramatic bum 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 music, it really sets the tone.
Somebody was telling me this morning that they saw some scary movie, and it was like, you know, one of those Scream type movies. But the music in the background as this girl is being stalked was "Happy Birthday to You." What do you think the emotional impact would be having a scary scene and "Happy Birthday to You" playing in the background?
Kind of creepy, definitely. A creepy sense to it.
Creepy, very creepy. Well, that's a good note to end this on. We will be continuing our series in about 5 seconds, so stay tuned. Thanks, Heather. Hello, and welcome to part 4 of our Multimedia 2 show with Brittany Andrews.
Hello.
Brittany, in the 2 years that you've been in this Multimedia 2 program, 1 and 2, what would you say is the biggest challenge of production?
I think coming up with something to do a video or a soundboard or anything creative is the hardest part, because one minute your mind is like, oh, I want to do this, and then you see something slightly different and you're like, oh, well, which one should I do? And you try and work things out so that you can have both of them. So I think that's one of the hardest parts, is the creativity part, but it's the most fun.
In terms of the technical part of this business, what would you say is your favorite part?
The technical part.
Like, we're talking sound, lights, editing.
I like pretty much everything except for editing. I'm not so good in that kind of field because, I don't know, it's more than rocket science to me.
If you were going to give advice to, say, a freshman or sophomore that was contemplating getting into this program, what would you tell them about multimedia?
I would tell them that it's a great program and you learn a lot. It's really fun. They need to go in with a very open mind. Pay attention. That's a good one. And just kind of explore your options and explore what you are working with, like editing and lighting and directing. Just kind of keep an open thought.
How has your perception of, like, watching movies, watching TV, are you watching it through a different lens, so to speak, now that you know what's going on?
Yeah, it kind of seems like these days I know how exactly they did it because of how it looks like behind the shoulder shot. You can tell exactly what's going on, and there's nothing else around them when they're actually shooting it but those two actors or actresses, and all you really see is what you've experienced yourself.
I'm just going to wrap this up because we're running out of time, but I just want to thank you so much for being my guest and for being in Multimedia 2.
Okay.